We're here with Joy Bronstein with the Carolina Raptor Center. She is president and CEO, and also her friend Emma has joined us, correct?
Yep.
So we want to welcome the Raptor Center back, and I want to start off too with an update on the eagle that you released.
Sure, yeah, and so I assume you're talking about Noah, the eaglet that hatched. He hatched actually the day the Olympics opened, which was Lincoln's birthday and Darwin's birthday. His name, though, came about because we ran a community voting contest, and the community had just lost a soldier in Afghanistan, and so overwhelmingly we heard back from people that we should name that bird after that soldier as a commemoration. So his name is Noah, named after Lance Corporal Noah Pierre. The eaglet is now in the hatch tower. That's where it learns to live on its own. We feed it once a day. It'll have a tracking device put on it this week, and in about 2 weeks we'll open the hatch tower doors, and the bird will one day just decide to fly away. It may keep coming back for food for a few days, but there will be a point at which it just says, okay, I'm old enough, instinct kicks in, and it's ready to go.
So you don't do a release for it like you do sometimes?
No, not in the same way. Because it's a juvenile, it needs to learn to fly on its own. It's not something you can rush, and it's not something you can predict with a science.
Okay. Now, what about the eagle that was released for the 4th of July? Was that last year?
That was last year. We released the bird, and we know that she made it up to the Chesapeake Bay area. She actually helped the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service find a new, what's called a rookery, which is where eagles go and spend time and nest. A new rookery that they didn't know about on the Chesapeake Bay.
Right, I'd heard that. So she pretty much stayed there once she...
As far as we know, absolutely.
And you have a new program that we've been hearing more about, like a release, a bird release.
Absolutely.
So what is that, and how can one do that?
Sure. We're calling it a Release a Raptor program. It's the opportunity for an individual or a corporation or a couple or a family or a neighborhood to engage with Carolina Raptor Center by sponsoring the release of one of our rehabilitated birds. We rehabilitate anywhere between 600 and 800 birds a year. Wow. And so when they're ready to go back out into the wild, we really think that that's a great way to engage with people. And so we bring the bird to you, to the setting. The habitat has to be appropriate, and give you the opportunity to engage in that release.
That is such a great idea. I mean, it's great for the Raptor Center because it helps support the center, but it's also just something really different to do for a special event or occasion.
Absolutely, and people very, very much seem to love it. At this point in time, we have a wait list for that.
Really?
And so we're hoping as we get into orphan season, which is where we see hundreds of birds that are orphaned, that people bring into us that they find. As those birds grow up this spring and summer, and we have lots and lots of extra rehab birds, that we'll be able to get all of those out to people that would like to participate with a release as well.
Now, why do you have a higher orphan season?
It's really what happens is that, right now is when the birds are hatching. And so they're starting to grow up. And so if there's a storm, birds get knocked out of trees. As people notice the birds, sometimes they're hopping around on the ground, they're not quite ready to fly, and people think that they're orphans. They're not really, and in that case, people should really just leave them alone. We actually have information on our website that can help people work through this process. Or sometimes we know that someone will cut a tree down or something else will happen, and we know that the parent has been killed and there are babies left in the nest, and they bring them to us. So in most of these cases, the birds aren't injured. They just need to be taken care of until they're old enough to fly away and hunt on their own.
Now, what's Emma's story?
Emma came to us in 2004. She was found on the side of the road with both of her wings broken, so we assumed that she was hit by a car. She was a hatch-year bird, which means that it was her first year of life, and she came to us and was non-releasable. Owls rely on their wings to be able to fly so that they can hunt silently. They use stealth to hunt, and she can't quite do that. But she had a really great personality and very easily...
It's like she knows you're talking about her.
And she's very easily habituated to people, so she makes a great education bird.
So she's a permanent resident.
She is a permanent resident. She will never go anywhere else, and she's a really fantastic ambassador. She's obviously very, very comfortable in front of the lights, in front of you all. She's very comfortable in front of lots and lots of kids. She's very comfortable in front of lots of people. And she's an absolutely beautiful bird. People don't usually get to see barn owls up close. They're very shy and they're not that common. They really exist best in what used to be farms, and now most of that area is turned into housing developments. So they live in man-made structures where there's going to be lots of mice for them to eat. And so it's much, much, much rarer for people to be able to ever see these birds.
So cute.
She's beautiful. I love that the spots in her fur is really pretty to see, see that up close.
Yeah, and it's actually feathers, not fur.
I mean feathers. I meant to say feathers.
They're actually, we don't touch them. They're wild animals and they don't like being touched. But if you did have the opportunity to feel for feathers, they're very, very, very soft. And so when we work with kids, we give them the opportunity to touch feathers that are not on live birds. So that they can understand.
So when you bring someone to the Raptor Center, how many birds will they actually see in a habitat? Because I know you've got that walking trail that you...
Yeah, we've got 23 species of birds on that trail. There's probably a total of almost 70 birds in those various habitats. It's 23 different species, like I said. Additionally, when people come out on the weekends, and then as we get into the summer, it'll be every day, there are lots of on-arm bird education programs that are going on. And this summer we'll be introducing a lot of interactive programs where people have an opportunity in the bird show to maybe have a bird come down and eat off of their hand or fly to their glove.
That's great. Well, I highly recommend. I know you've been with your kids. We've both been with our kids. It's a great program over there. We do have information on the Lake Norman events calendar. We also have information about discounts for seniors and children.
Absolutely. And military, actually.
And military.
We're running military discounts.
So definitely check them out. It's a great thing to do, especially if you have company in town too, because there's not a lot of places like what we have here in this area.
That's true. And it's inside of Latta Plantation, so you can come spend some time with us and then spend the rest of the day walking the trails outside.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah,
sure, it's my pleasure.